traditionally, discussions about financial products rarely involved women. It does reflect the prevalence of a very strong patriarchal perception that finances are the forte of men. Now, not only has this kept women away from more serious money management, but across the world, financial products have seldom been designed keeping women in mind or the needs of women. Even though we see more women joining the workforce, their participation in financial matters still remains fraught with challenges. Add to that the unavailability of products that suit their needs, and apathy by financial institutions in solving this issue is a major impediment. In this particular segment, we will explore how women investors from across varied ages and socioeconomic groups can have enriching investment experiences despite the glaring lack of offerings that are suitable for them. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome the lovely ladies on my panel this afternoon. Shruti Agrawal, co-founder Stashfin, Lakshmi Nagapotler, entrepreneur and angel investor, and Shweta Jain, founder Investography Private Limited. Welcome, ladies. Welcome to all of you. And I'm just going to start straight with my first question coming to you, Shruti. Women's financial journeys tend to be very different from that of men. And there is a gender pay gap, exclusion of women from financial decision making at the family level, lack of financial independence, and perhaps their role as caregivers, due to which many women have to take career gaps. Well, add to this the lack of tailor made products for women. How does this play out?
Thank you, Mukta. As most of you are aware or not aware, I'm Shruti Agarwal, co-founder of Stashfin. I'm one of the fintech founders, very few fintech founders there in the industry. And I couldn't agree more with Mukta today that the financial products, whether it is from investment perspective or growth perspective, are very, very limited for Indians and especially for Indian women. India almost dropped 28 ranks in the World Economic Gender Gap report in 2021. This really tells us that the focus on women is very, very limited in India, especially. I've been lucky enough, my parents have given importance to both investing in education of their daughters as well as providing the exposure. Um, in the US, when I was there, there are enough products out there, whether it's health products, focused on dental health, all kind of medical issues. However, in India, even the basic health products are limited. So when we look at the ecosystem, even though it's changing, it's still restricted for women. The new age brands that do cater to women centric products in personal care, fintech products, or finance investing products are very limited. However, it is very, very important. The economy has to think big, that there are huge opportunities for women available, or to create brands similar to what Cashman did, which was Live Boundless, providing self-employed women access to credit. This can actually help in creating a she economy, which is really real, creating products which are just not limited to insurance, but mutual funds, fixed income products, how we have similar to those in for senior living. We should have similar products for women, and it's really, really important for women to educate themselves, not just in the investment product, but the tax savings, not just for themselves, but for their families they can do. And once they start contributing and have a contribution because they know enough about how they can contribute to the family, I think there will be a lot more family involvement. The millennials are really involved. They do look at P2P for investments, even for short term. I think there's potential, there's hope, and I'm hoping a lot more people would be spending time looking at how they should make their money work for them instead of worrying about not having a job or a livelihood.
Right. I always cite this example whenever I talk about financial literacy or how the society perceives women with investment. That I've sat with my financial portfolio with my fund manager, and if my husband happens to be around, there's never steady eye contact with them. right? I'm always the third person in that room. Now, the ratio of women to men professionals in the financial services is also lopsided, professionally, if we talk about it. Lakshmi, let me get you in. Do you think the presence of a greater number of women in banks and fund houses can make these conversations a little more independent, a little more inclusive, and also make women feel comfortable to talk about what they want and start actively managing their investments?
Yeah, no, so Mukta, thank you for inviting me on the panel, and I'm very happy to be here and a topic that's close to my heart. Great question, Mukta. So yes, you're absolutely right. The financial services sector is obviously far underrepresented when it comes to fund managers and decision makers in the ecosystem who are women leaders. Um, to some extent, absolutely yes. I think having influencers, having decision makers be women, speak, and I think share more stories. I think that's going to be critical. Not just being in roles of decision making, but being able to talk a lot more about it. Of course, we've had, SBI chairman being Arundhati Bhattacharya, right? So we've had India is a country probably far more progressive when it comes to women leaders in financial institutions. But I think when it comes to investments and discussing, how important it is, I think we are not having as many conversations on those topics. Post pandemic, or rather during the pandemic, I've seen, there have been a huge rise of influencers. And as was mentioned earlier, the millennial generation is far more actively engaged in the whole investment ecosystem. They are aware, they are very smart about tax planning as well. And there's so much more information accessible to this generation of millennials versus probably a couple 2 generations ago. And so that's helping shape a lot of investment decisions to some extent, independent of even having a lot of women in positions of influence in financial institutions or fund houses. But that said, I think there's always room because there are, India is very diverse. And, while you and I and people on this forum are, coming from, upper middle class or middle class, and we are much more educated, we probably still are going to be less influenced. But I think as it trickles down below that middle class, I think that's where the impact of women leaders, women on the ground, even front ending some of these investment decisions, especially all the large institutions and the banks have relationship managers who go and talk to them about investment products. I think that's really where we'll feel the bigger impact, because even if you look, like, we have so many statistics, right? Only 7% women make independent financial decisions, blah blah blah. I think it is from the educated class. Probably time is one of the bigger constraints. It's not lack of awareness or involvement or interest to be involved. It is purely a function of time. Women, as we, whether we like it or not, we it's a fact that we do play a significant role in managing the house, and that kind of lands up. The family financial officer by default becomes the male of the house. But I think in modern families, nuclear families, I've seen women, are much more involved in all of the decisions that the family makes together and anything meaningful. But it's, in this social circles, which are not the modern families, more traditional kind of ecosystems, that's where I think we need to see the difference. And influencers should be able to make a bit of an impact. Uh, Financial leaders will make a bit of an impact, but I think also awareness in that league is a little less. And making them more comfortable, only I think other women, can make that, decision for them, help them make that decision. So I've seen this work really well in microfinance. I've worked very closely in one of my school projects in microfinance, and there are a lot more women who actually go and educate and help women, because microfinance as a sector has always believed in giving loans to other women, right? So they've been able to really encourage them take the loans, and they've been very very conscious and responsible to pay back these loans. So we've seen when they understand, have access, they take advantage of these, and many of them have been able to use it for their business, which has invariably helped them help enhance their families. So they've seen the whole cycle. So I think that's really where it is missing a little bit at the grassroots level, and I think that's where we need to see a huge active engagement, in my view.
Yeah, you very well put it. And the fact that you bring about the microfinance canvas and women talking to women and explaining them, and also when we start to have products that are designed by women, I think that as well is a game changer. Shweta, let me get you in. Well, the demographic of younger women in bigger cities is trying to change the narrative by refusing to let their partners, brothers, or their fathers manage their finances. Instead, they are taking the reins of their money into their own hands. But due to the lack of products suitable for their needs, it may be tricky to completely avoid being influenced by, the male investment pattern. How can women investors sidestep those biases?
I think women sometimes get in their own way because of the self-doubt that we have as a part of our upbringing. We are less confident when it comes to things. So I think the self-doubt factor that we have affects us really negatively in terms of financial wellness, in terms of taking independent financial decisions. So it really comes down to validation from our partners, from our parents, which is why I think women stick to the traditional options more, be it FDs, be it gold, be it property, the safer so-called safer options. I think women need to get a little more confident, and that can happen with a little research, a little education, and of course nudging each other, taking each other up. So when we talk about inspiring figures, when we talk about women investors, when we see products being designed by women, run by women, successful products. So I think that is when women will get even more motivated to take things further and take decisions for themselves. So I think there's a clear lack of this today, and that is really affecting women investors. Having said that, I think we've come a long way. Maybe 5 years, 7 years ago, we really saw far less women investors. Today, we are seeing women investors, whether it's through SIPs, whether it's opening trading accounts, whether it's buying that one share that they want to invest in. Or be it for the children's education. I think what women do need, another factor that they need is um, their goals. I think talking to them in a language where things matter to them rather than just saying wealthy. I think talking to them about their children's goals, how their children's education will be taken care of, how health insurance can help their loved ones be protected. I think talking in this language will really help women get women's attention, because we don't really care too much about getting wealthy and getting there. Not everybody does. What matters to us is our loved ones' wellness and their well-being and their dreams being met, because we tend to put their happiness before ours. So I think even the language, not just the product, and that will come when there are women designing these products, when the women designing the communication behind it. So I think pinkifying this sort of revolution should mean making it simpler and not making it more expensive. Because otherwise, you see, if there's something for women or babies, you see them marked up considerably. So I would love to see simplicity being the hallmark of pinkifying these products.
One of the things that also matters is financial literacy. And, once we start talking about financial literacy for girls from schools and colleges and at every step of the way, I think one of the goals that will be achieved is that they are more emancipated. And I can speak here about a few initiatives that are trying to make a difference and take the lead. For instance, the initiative called For Her is the industry's first women-centric initiative for empowering women at large with financial awareness. And it has already run over 200 women-exclusive programs that have been attended by over 2,000 women. And they also reach out via podcasts, articles, ebooks, there have been social media campaigns that have reached over 1 million users. So financial literacy truly is the Brahmastra, as they say. Shruti, taking the sentiment forward, accessing the right financial products and services and devising sound investment strategies can be easier for women who have their own sources of income, right? Now, how can women who are not financially independent start their investment journey? Because a lot of time women come and say, oh, we are homemakers, we are caregivers, we don't get access to money, I don't make my own money, but there always is a way. What could that thought process be like?
You know, almost a decade ago, or even more, and probably it continues in most of the households in India still, women run the budget. They probably get some kind of allowance and they run the house on that budget. They've been pretty smart in the past, maybe not investing officially into stock markets or fixed deposits, but they've been able to create assets for them in the form of probably jewelry or putting some money against insurance or education for their kids. I truly believe that managing money, whether if it's yours or your family's, the commitment has to be the same. You have to know what the priorities are for the family, making a financial plan, having a discussion, you can only have a discussion if you have a point of view, and you can only have a point of view if you know what's out there in the market. So first of all, I think for all the women out there, whether you are earning your own money or you're getting an allowance or you just are managing family money, never sit back and think it's someone else's money. You are a big contributor. The reason the male member of the family is going out without a thought in his head to go earn money is because of you. So please do not ever have that thought, but you are managing larger budget than him. So try to use that money effectively, create assets for you. Creating asset may be as simple as getting the latest jewelry for you. Gold is a great investment. Yes, people have views whether gold is a great investment in the long term or not, but it's a small step towards saving money and putting it to work, making sure when you're sitting there, you're planning your education, what kind of board the kid should go to. There's so many options available now. As you think through that options, you need to think through higher degree for your child, so you need to have that discussion with your family members to put aside certain budget every month, again from the allowance of the family. As you put that money to work, there's growth. There are enough female LIC agents, which I'm pretty proud to say some of my friends are. They can educate you. They actually send a lot of schemes out there, which tells you even putting a small amount of money at the time of graduation takes your child's education to a different level. So I think it's more about initiative and just having that confidence. You may not be the bread earner or winner, but you are managing a much larger budget. And please make sure when you're thinking about spending, you're also thinking about putting certain money aside for yourself when it comes to your health, your interest in terms of whatever you would want to buy, which would create a long term asset for your children. And I think if you think about these three, four things without really entering the mainstream stock market or fixed deposit, you can actually add a lot more uh, to the coming generations and also adding a lot of value to yourself.
You mentioned gold, so I'll take that bit with Shweta. Shweta, gold has been the go-to option for creating a financial safety net for women. However, there is ample evidence to indicate that excessive reliance on gold as an investment class has little benefit in the long term, although there are believers in gold as well. How would you perceive gold then for women in this age from an investment standpoint?
I would want to ask women this question who actually invest in gold. How many times have you gone out and sold gold to meet any goal, whether it's to buy a car or whether it's to fund your child's education or for monthly expenses after retirement. How many times have you actually gone out and sold that gold? Never. Gold is for, the next generation, right? So gold is a great investment option. Not that I disagree with that, because I'd rather invest in gold than get those designer bags as an investment. But any too much of a good thing can also be a bad thing, which is what I think has happened here. So I think women should explore beyond gold. So go beyond gold, I would tell women. Whatever options we're talking about, right? Whether it's mutual funds, whether it's insurances, whether it's FDs, anywhere that you're saving money is great. But don't think about it as investing if you're saving money. Learn the difference between investing and saving money here. It has to beat inflation. We just saw, just before the panel started, we saw about compounding a video, right? Where it's also compounding our expenses. So in about 25 years, you will need 4 times the amount. So if gold is not going to grow that way, which means you're saving money with gold, you're not really investing money, right? So some bit of exposure is great. So we generally recommend between 10 to 20% is fine. But beyond that, you need to make sure that whatever you need, for your rainy day is saved, say in an FD. Whatever you need for sure, and you need to commit monthly. There are insurance policies which give you that option. And what you need for growth, there is equity. So somewhere women shy away from equity because we don't want to lose money. We absolutely hate losing what we have. We want to keep what we have absolutely secure because we've earned it with so much difficulty, right? With so much hard work. So when it comes to equity, women misunderstand the volatility for loss. So if there is money that you can commit to for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, for the next generation, there is no reason why some bit of that money cannot go to equity. In fact, it should go to equity where it will show you how it can grow, right? Because we also like being that perfect ma, behen, bahu, that perfect child, right? So we don't want to come to a point where people are pointing fingers at us saying, okay, देखो उसने पैसा खो दिया equity में, उसने gamble किया equity में, right? If it was a man, I mean, they'd be okay, हाँ, मतलब I lost this money, can we move on already? For women, it isn't like that, right? We want to be the perfect one. And we think about others before us, right? And we think about how it affects our standing in society, whether it's about drinking alcohol or whether it's looking at it as gambling. So women would sometimes equate investing in equity to gambling. And I'm not just saying that. I hear women about it all the time saying, but usne equity mein dala aur paisa chala gaya, like how could she do it? So, and then to understand that it's volatility. So that is, I think, the biggest factor that women are missing out. So while gold is great, I think it's time for women to go beyond gold and think a little beyond that yellow metal.
Very well said. Very, very well articulated as well. And it is true. They always say, "Aadmi ke saath khoon maaf." But if if the woman makes a slight, slight problem comes up, it's always about, oh, you made that decision. Lakshmi, I want you to chime in on this. Is the fascination for gold or is the fascination for jewelry as investment happening in the West as well? Or is it just, us, the Indian women, who think that gold is one of the things, but it's accessible. So you get gifts, you buy gifts, and demanding gold is always accepted. But I would want to know how women pursue jewelry and gold as a form of investment in the West.
So, no, I think it's a very interesting topic. I actually come from Chennai, and South, as you all might be aware, is huge on jewelry, huge on gold. And so some of it is also in the DNA. And, I have in my life been a little unconventional. Even when I remember clearly when I was in 5th grade, as be typical South Indian mom, my mom would buy small pieces of jewelry and always think of it as an asset or an investment. And I would be like, you if you don't ever buy me a single piece of gold. I was very categorical, and buy me real estate. And I don't know why I had this fascination. I was only in 5th grade. But somehow for me, gold personally has been like, something you buy, you keep it in the locker, and you have to safeguard it. Or if you have it at home, you're always worrying about, do I have it? And you never get to use it, especially as jewelry. So just wearing a practical practical hat, I've not had such a fascination for gold. But that said, wearing an investor hat, I think it's, people want to diversify, and every asset class has had its cycles, so it is an important asset class. And as Shruti had mentioned, for many families, it's an easier way to invest. Like, people don't frown, at least in India, when a woman buys jewelry. So it's great, especially for those who are not, financially independent. It's very necessary, whether it is going to, give them significant returns or growth returns, at least it is a safety net. But I think, coming to your question about how it is viewed in the West, I've come from Chennai, I've spent significant time in the West, I've come back to India. While I was in the States, I had zero fascination for any jewelry, which of course was a natural extension for me. And like you said, most Westerners just don't really invest in gold. They don't have that fascination. They buy a lot of, fashion accessories. They spend on bags. If they happen to be Hermes, of course, it works out well for them. But they invest in, lifestyle. And the only thing that they've really invested beyond, in any form of jewelry, which is a lifetime investment, is really their engagement ring, wedding ring, right? That's the biggest form of any kind of jewelry. And typically that lands up becoming the solitaire, again, going with, for obvious reasons, as all of us know. Switch gears, when I come back to India, I do see again, a lot of my peer group, people who have, mixed backgrounds, come, spend time outside. After a certain point in life, they do have some investment in jewelry. I've had, friends who have had similar exposure, like any of us. They still believe that gold is a much more safer asset class. So it's mixed. But in the West, I think I would categorically have to say that a large percentage don't necessarily invest in gold. If they have, other asset classes like equities, mutual funds, and if they're working professionals, the 401k has been a great option for them. And ESOPs, almost all large companies have had ESOPs for decades before even India has embraced it, right? So they've had alternate asset class. And the typical American dream, the 30-year mortgages anyway takes up a large part of their paycheck. So I hope that answers your question. I can talk a lot about gold and how it works, what doesn't work, asset role, diversification of assets, but I don't want to stray too much. I'm sure you want to ask more questions.
Yeah, that brings me to the next question. Shweta, I'll come to you. How should women be mindful of the need to change their asset allocation approaches as they navigate through different stages in life? And I think this is something I so strongly believe in, that a woman's life cycle goes through so many changes that her involvement in asset allocation has to be just more than all right, I have parked the money, I have put the money, and that's about it. I think it needs to be more dynamic, it needs to keep changing, and that's the only way we can grow our money even with those breaks. So how do you think women can approach that?
I think, Mukta, that's a great question. And I think it's very relevant for women, especially because of our career graph, which is, kind of topsy-turvy as well, whether it's sabbaticals for taking care of loved ones or starting families. So I think when it comes to asset allocation, we can't really depend on like the 100 minus age sort of example that people give. I think what women need to do is think about how it affects their life and what they're looking at and what they want from their life, right? So whether it's, as an example, put like a Google map, right? Saying, okay, this is the destination I want to get to, right? So whether it's a career break, whether it's a sabbatical, so say, okay, I need to take a sabbatical in 3 years because I'm planning a child in a couple of years. So 3 years could become 5 or could become 2. That's fine. But at least you have some inclination of where you want to get to. And that gives you an idea of where that money should be parked for that, say, 3 years. So that will give you which asset class you can choose to invest, rather than saying, I need it all liquid. Because otherwise, women because there's so many uncertainties, right? Okay, after marriage, will I be going to this, live in this city? When will I have a child? What happens if my in-laws fall sick? What happens if so and so? So because there's so many uncertainties, I will just stay invested in an FD. That seems to be the mindset at various points, saying because I will need the money after 5 years, or I might need it tomorrow. I don't know. So let me put it in an FD where I have it accessible, right? Or gold, which is again, I could liquidate. I may not liquidate, but I could liquidate. To a property, saying, okay, it's the safest. And if nothing, I'll be a property owner. If nothing, rent will come. If nothing, people will say, okay, Sethani, I mean, whatever, right? So because women don't know what tomorrow brings, they are sort of want to keep it all very close to their chest, play their cards very, very safe. I think put one destination and see, okay, I want to have a child in say 3 years. Will or will not is fine. What do you want, right? And for that 3 years, okay, can I park it in an ELSS? Because it's kind of matches my frame. I will not look at it for 3 years. It will help me save tax. So today, if I have 1.5 lakh rupees, I have 3 years time frame. ELSS is great, right? Just as an example, because it's matching the time frame. Okay, if it's a rainy day, money that I want to keep, 6 to 9 months expenses. Okay, let me be a little more conservative and keep 12 months expenses handy. So EMIs, even if I get fired from my job tomorrow, or if I don't have income, 12 months, I'm absolutely safe. So I keep that money close to my chest. So I keep that money in an FD, right? So which is accessible anytime, or a combination of liquid funds, bank account, and FD. So nothing is really lying idle. We as women, I think one great thing is also we don't like things lying idle. We like kuch na kuch, it should keep working. We are working all the time 24/7, right? So we need to make sure our money is working. So this combination will give us that. Then put another destination. Okay, I want to be financially free, whether I retire from, see, home say, so there is no retirement. You're going to be managing your home, whether you're single, you're married, you're a parent, whatever, you're going to be managing your home, right? So usse to retirement nahi hai, but can I be financially free? Okay, by when do I want to be? I love this job, so never retiring. Great. But I want to pursue, say, photography. I like wildlife. Can I go to a jungle safari every month if I wish to and still keep working? Can you do that? Okay, I'd like to do that by age 40. Usse pehle to I would like to go on such adventures. Think about what you want. Create your own vision board. And this vision board will be different for, the four of us are here. This vision board will be so different for each one of us. So think about that, okay? Because see, while you might want to travel the world, the reality is you're not going to just get up today and say, okay, even if you have the money, say, okay, I'm off to travel the world, right? There will be events like this that you'll want to attend, that you'll want to give gyan to all the women that you've taken from, right? You'll want to give back as well. So you're going to then put down, okay, Spain and so much, so and so year, US and so year, Australia and so year. So put that down, so put down all your sort of Google Maps, money maps, and see how much and when and what can you afford. Can you afford it once it has inflated? Because this is an example that I like to give as well. You might be able to afford a chair today if you had that money, right? If I have 100 rupees and the chair is 100 rupees today, I can afford it. But next year, because of inflation, the chair will be 105 rupees and I will still have 100 rupees if I have not invested. So what I could afford today, I can't afford next year. So always remember the impact of inflation, even, on things that you can afford today. So keep your asset allocation according to your vision board, according to your requirements. At the time, keep your 10 to 12 months, whatever you're comfortable with, liquid. But other than that, give it room to grow. It will keep you a little uncomfortable. You might have a few sleepless nights. Okay, we give our family lots of sleepless nights of ours. Why not give ourselves also some sleepless nights and, let it grow? Be a little uncomfortable and learn, and then you will see that the balance between comfort and growth will come. At some point, maybe 7 nights down the line, it will come. So the balance between growth and comfort, I think that's the sweet spot that you want to find.
Wonderful, wonderful, and great bits of gyan, as you said. I'm happy you're here to give us those Gyan tips. But yeah, this financial vision board, making your financial vision board is such an important tip, because we make all kinds of vision boards, we make all kinds of plans, but yeah, financially supporting those plans. So a financial vision board, I think, is my take home from here as well. Coming to financial literacy bit now, for many women who have to juggle relentlessly between their family and professional duties, learning the intricacies of investing can be an arduous task, if you ask me, for which a lot of them may not have time or find time or make time, right? Shruti, what would be your advice to such women who are trying to become financially savvy? What are the options available? Can you give them some tips? And the fact that they don't want to excessively sort of rely on their partners or male members, etc. What are their options to make themselves financial literate?
So, for those who don't want to take calls on long-term goals but have quick liquidity, look at options like NCDs, listed NCDs, which are shorter in term, tax effective MLDs, market linked debentures, and look at P2P investments. These are shorter in nature, have higher returns. Some of them are very tax effective as well, and it is very easy to get in and get out of them. I would suggest, if you're looking to put your money to work, these give you high value or more buck for your money. These would be the quick ones for me. And of course, when you're budgeting your household spends, put some money aside for yourself, especially for insurance. After the pandemic, we all understand having health insurance, life insurance is very, very important. So these couple of products would be something I would request every woman to read about and focus on.
Shweta, any tips there?
Yeah, I think one of the easiest things to do is an ELSS scheme. I think it helps save tax. It helps you condition you for 3-year lock-in. I think it's a small amount that you can start. It gives you a staggered investment if you want to. So I think women should look at starting an SIP in ELSS scheme.
Well, ladies, this has been such an insightful discussion, and I'm truly hoping it is reaching several women who are watching us today, this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us and speaking to me about investment and how women can make their investments work for them. The experiences of women, their needs and goals are very different from men, and I sincerely hope that we have more women-centric products, women fund managers, and more empowerment when it comes to financial literacy. Thank you, all of you.
An investor education and awareness initiative of Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.